What's going on, guys? So today we're going to talk about and address the fundamental question: what is protein actually doing in the body beyond simply building muscle? So for decades, protein guidelines were shaped by nitrogen balance studies and later by short-term markers like muscle protein synthesis, or MPS for short. I'll address it as MPS in the video from now on. Now, these methods gave us useful data, but they're painted too narrow of a picture of protein's role in the body. When we reduce protein to just simply what stimulates MPS, we miss the bigger picture, and that is that protein serves a multitude of purposes within the body. General guidelines hover somewhere around the 0.7 to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight per day. Now, that's enough to prevent deficiency and to support retention in many individuals, but in practice, I myself, along with many others before me, people like Lyle McDonald, have argued for higher protein intakes than that. Now, I recommend 1 gram of protein per pound up to 1.3, or even sometimes in some cases 1.5 grams per pound of body weight, because protein isn't just a raw building material used for building new skeletal muscle. The research itself on protein wasn't wrong, however the interpretation just wasn't complete. It was an incomplete interpretation of the data, basically. Now, there are two major key issues that stand out and have been highlighted by others in the past, but I'll go over them again for argument's sake in this video. The first mistake, or the first issue that has been stated and pointed out, is an overemphasis on muscle, or an over-focus on muscle building. Protein does support far more than just simply skeletal muscle. There's things like tendons, ligaments, cartilage, joints, every organ system within the body, the liver, the gut, the skin, hair, nails, they all require a protein quota. There is a protein turnover, in other words, involved in all of those tissues and organs. Now, the second major issue is that there is an overemphasis on protein synthesis. So muscles aren't just simply built, they are also broken down. And what matters is actually the net balance, not muscle protein synthesis, but synthesis minus degradation. So ignoring breakdown leaves us with underestimated requirements. So let's ask the crucial question now: what else does dietary protein actually do inside of the body? Well, there's structural maintenance. Like I said, collagen, elastin, and keratin form the scaffolding for connective tissue, skin, nails, and the bone matrix. Then you've got various enzymatic processes and hormones within the body. Virtually all metabolic processes are regulated by proteins, whether in the form of enzymes or peptide hormones like insulin, glucagon, growth hormone, etc. Virtually every metabolic process depends on these guys. Moving on from there, you've got immune defense. Antibodies themselves are proteins. Without sufficient protein, your immune competency and resilience can decline. Antibodies are protein in essence. You've also got cell turnover, so rapidly renewing tissues within the body, say in the liver, the intestinal lining, skin. These all require a constant flow of amino acids. Your gut, your liver, your skin, all constantly renewing on a daily basis. And it doesn't stop there. You've got transport and buffering. So albumin, a protein, maintains fluid balance. Hemoglobin carries oxygen throughout the body. Lipoproteins move and mobilize fats, and protein systems help buffer blood pH. When it comes to the nervous system, you have neurotransmitters. Amino acids serve as precursors to things like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, directly influencing brain function, brain chemistry, and your overall mood. And yes, there's even the added use of protein as an energy backup source. So during prolonged deficits or high levels of stress, amino acids can be converted into glucose via a metabolic pathway known as gluconeogenesis. It's not ideal, it's definitely not efficient from a metabolic standpoint, but it is a crucial fallback if there is no other option for energy in the body. This is why anchoring protein guidelines purely based on muscle growth, whether it's nitrogen balance or muscle protein synthesis, MPS, or retention studies, fails to capture the bigger picture at hand. So you might be asking yourself, why has this underestimation persisted for so goddamn long? Well, partly because of the echo chamber effect that exists within the fitness industry. A handful of high-profile research celebrities in the hypertrophy space amplified narrow interpretations of protein research, and those interpretations spread widely throughout social media and the evidence-based fitness community over the years. Now, this isn't a case of science versus experience. It's a case of incomplete science being oversold as the final truth. We've seen the same pattern in the past with things like the BCAA craze, if you're old enough to remember that. The metabolic damage narrative, which was around, I believe, 2013 from recollection, and training frequency hype, built on muscle protein synthesis and data. Each time a small piece of science was blown out of proportion, profited from the very few, and then quietly discarded when it didn't hold up to scrutiny. So what does this actually mean for you? That's what you're really here for, right? If you're eating on the low end, say around 0.7 to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight, understand that this may underestimate your body's full protein demands. You might not be meeting your protein requirements. Most athletes and lifters will benefit from anywhere between 1 and 1.3 grams per pound of body weight. It does sound excessive, but when you consider and factor in how lean most athletes and lifters are, I don't mean the recreational gym goer, I mean actual athletes and lifters, it makes sense. This supports not only muscle growth, but also connective tissue regeneration, recovery, and overall systemic health. Intakes of up to 1.5 grams per pound can be argued in some cases, and it can be useful in specific scenarios. Things like body recomposition, in injury recovery phases, post-surgery, contest prep, when you are at very low levels of adiposity, or when lean tissue retention is just critical under high levels of stress. So to wrap it all up, protein is not just muscle food, rather it's a universal substrate for structure, repair, immunity, hormones, enzymes, and even neurotransmitters. So next time someone argues that 0.0 grams of protein per pound of body weight is all you need, just remember those guidelines were built on limited markers and misinterpreted data. The reality is far broader than that. Now I just want to say, to wrap it up, thank you for listening. If you did make it this far, I'd love to hear your own protein strategies and experiences in the comments down below. Also, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you want to show your support. If you're looking for online coaching, there's a link down in the description below. There's also links to all my affiliations, so all my sponsorships where you can get a discount if you use my code. Thanks for watching. Peace out till next time.